So tonight we have the Q&A. Huh? Let's see. Let's see what are the questions. Not too many, only 3 questions only. Hold on. Okay. All right. Can y'all see question 1? Okay. Wait now, hold on now. Let me adjust it bigger. Okay. All right. Question 1. There are occasions in which I fail to note the objects precisely. So I try harder to note, but I find myself struggling when I try harder. Then I note this struggle instead. In short, I'm noting the noting. Is this correct? I appreciate your advice. All right. Now here, it's like sometimes you may not able to notice the objects clearly or precisely, and this could due to a number of things. Nevertheless, you mentioned that you are noting the noting mind itself. It is possible. We can do that. No problem. We can note the noting mind, or we can note generally the mind actually that pays attention to the object. We can do that. Now it's good that you know that when we are pushing too hard, now especially when we are not in a retreat, when we are just doing our daily meditation, and also with the we are working, come back, or before we go for work, and then we meditate for a while before we go to work, or after work we come back, or in between you have other work, maybe not work but household duties, responsibility. So therefore your mindfulness and your state of mind may not be so calm and clear. So when we sit down, we try to push the mind. We want to get into that clarity in a way that we want it to be fast. We want to make that clarity of the mind straight away, that we sit down, meditate for a while, and then we want to make the mind clear. This is where when we are impatient, and we try to note something, then the objects may clear for a while, but it cannot able to sustain, because that especially the effort becomes overwhelming, and then your mind becomes not clear, very kind of like restless a little bit, and then therefore you try to note and then you try harder, and you try harder, then the mind becomes even more unclear due to restless mind and so on. And sometimes also may due to the mindfulness is not enough, and when the mindfulness is not enough, the mind is in a way imbalanced. No matter what you try and how you try, the clarity of the object will not be there. So therefore, in the beginning of during the daily sittings, then it is important that you need a bit of patience. You need patience. Don't over push. Don't start to push until you find that you have your mind has steadied down, calmed down, and become clear. Then only you put a bit of effort in order to see things more clearly. Sometimes it may take you 15 minutes, some days may take you 10 minutes, 5 minutes, some days may take you half an hour, sometimes it just never comes. Because you are not really in a retreat session. So if you're on a retreat, then it's a kind of a different ball game altogether. So if you're trying to note the mind itself, then okay, you note it as knowing, or struggling, also can, no problem. But during this time, while you're noting this, the mind, because it becomes clear to you, it becomes that state of mind, the struggling mind, they are clear to you. It's perfectly. You note that mind. But this time, when you note the mind, you note it with a more softer tone. A more softer tone. That means that you don't fight with that. You don't try to fight with the mind itself. You don't try to fight with that non-clarity. You're more like you're able to accept the non-clarity, and you're also able to see that the mind is struggling at this time. So during this time, if you know that you're pushing a bit too hard and you're struggling, then you're not struggling in a more gentle tone, in a more acceptable, more of an accepting type of nature of the mind, and kind of a very more patient type of noting. Then that in that way, then the mind will start to rebalance itself. It will start to rebalance, it will start to calm down, and it will start to slowly become clearer again. So you can do that. Now this technique also, when we try to soften the noting, is to actually to bring in the calmness and tranquility. To bring in some degree of calmness and tranquility together with that mindfulness. Because the mindfulness is that it is being aware of what is going on. He is aware of the mind that is struggling. But at the same time, you bring in some calmness and tranquility by softening the tone of the noting. And that also can be achieved by that labeling, when you label it a bit softer, a bit calmer, a bit slower also. Then it brings in that calmness, concentration, tranquility in order to rebalance the mind. Once the mind becomes calm and clear, then you go back to your main object, and then that time, okay, just put the mind there, noting mind there, and you keep on observing what is going on until you finish the sitting. So this technique also is very helpful when we comes into everyday meditating, because of the whole day. When if you are doing it, especially like in the evening or at night, then we have a lot of thoughts, a lot of thinking that is happening throughout the day. So towards the evening, sometimes it builds up and then it carries forward to the meditation, and because of that, the object is not clear, and then therefore we struggle. So therefore, some calmness in the noting, it is also very helpful in the practice. So this one is okay. So in other ways also, sometimes in order to get the mind calm down, clear, and then also it's good to do some samatha meditation, for example, maybe some metta meditation, for example, and also that can be quite helpful. Some metta meditation, especially when you're meditating in the evening, when you have a lot of thoughts, that metta meditation helps you to calm down. But if you're meditating in the morning, maybe because your mind is not clear yet, then it will be good to do some walking meditation in order to build up the energy of the mind. Build up the energy of the mind to make it clear, and then sit down, and then starts with your meditation. That will be good. Try in the morning when you wake up. Don't go and look at your mobile phones. What messages, what email coming in. Don't read all those things. It makes your mind very unclear, very restless. So in the morning, if you want to start off with a meditation, if some of you meditating in the morning, which is good, then keep all your devices away and do what you need to do, and then do a bit of walking, bring up that mindfulness, then sit down and then meditate. And then after that, you finish your meditation, for your work or whatever that you want to do. If you are doing in the evening, then it is good that to do a bit of samatha meditation or calmness meditation to bring the energy down a little bit, in order just for the mind to become clear from the restless mind, and then after that build up the mindfulness. Then it can be quite helpful and in the practice. So this is some of the things that we can do when we are struggling and when the objects are not clear. All right. Okay. Now the next question that we're going to go through. When you read the passages afterward, don't get too confused over it. It's just that the question is a bit confusing. I will explain a little bit. All right. You're going to read this. Okay. Now the question is here. Let me put the question first. Okay. Thus, paragraph 82, sentence number 7, means that bhavanga has sustained thought. Most of the time, we associate bhavanga with subconscious and almost like neither perceiving nor non-perceiving. But surprisingly, it has sustained thought. Can Bhante please explain? Thank you. Okay. Now this one, you get it from the... Oh, just now I forgot to put in the book. This one. I don't know whether you could see it. Can you see? Wait, hold on. I stop the sharing first. Okay. This is Conditional Relation, Volume 2. Conditional Relation, Pali's Text Society. Wow, this one is this is a very difficult. A lot of things is inside there. Just too many things. Now the question is asking about paragraph 2. Then the questioner here is that can you see the sharing again? Question 2 again, right? Okay. And let me move my foot. Okay, move this thing here. Now, the questioner maybe have a surprise that bhavanga consciousness has all different, have sustained thought, which is the word vitaka. Oh, no, sorry, vichara. And the initial thought, it's sustained. Applied thought is vitaka. Yeah. Sustained thought is vichara. So now the thing is that you want to know about this bhavanga, that you have a sustained thought and not this one. But I think I was thinking about your question. I think you have misunderstood about that bhavanga itself, you have misunderstood about that bhavanga consciousness itself. Now, I'm going to explain a little bit about the bhavanga consciousness, which is to make things a little bit clearer. Because one of the things is that because in some talks ago, I did talk about the bhavanga consciousness, and that bhavanga consciousness Well, that one is connected to the enlightenment thing. So don't worry about what you read inside there, where I underline the red line there. Life continuum is the word for bhavanga. The word for bhavanga. All right. Now let's look into the nature of bhavanga. Now, bhavanga is a consciousness. They are consciousness, but sometimes you use the word subconscious. I think it may not be that right, because subconsciousness, it's like it's more like a modern psychotherapy thing. But whereas this type of consciousness, they are more like, they are there with the consciousness. It's just that they are not that clear only. Sometimes I use the word subconsciousness for this also, but actually it's not that right too. But just for conversation, just for understanding's sake. Now, bhavanga here, bhavanga consciousness, they are what we call vipaka citta, resultant consciousness. They are resultant consciousness. Resultant consciousness means that it means that you inherit it from your past life. Bhavanga citta also is the same as your death consciousness and your rebirth consciousness. All right, death consciousness and rebirth consciousness. Just now, I think in the here is mentioned, death consciousness without applied thought but with sustained thought, and sustained thought are related to rebirth consciousness with the applied thought and sustained thought by proximity condition. Proximity means near condition, means death consciousness and rebirth consciousness in the sense that they are next to each other. Okay? They are next to each other. So death consciousness also is a bhavanga. Rebirth consciousness also is a bhavanga. Yeah. Now, bhavanga occurs throughout our life. Throughout our life, even while we are still awake, like right now. Some people thought that bhavanga consciousness is only happen when you are sleeping, when you are not dreaming anything, when you have they call it the dreamless state, nothing, and then as if like it's just maintaining your life. This is one of it, but doesn't mean this is the whole function of bhavanga. Now, in the bhavanga also, bhavanga occurs also in our waking time. Now, take for example when you are looking at your screen right now, and also you are hearing at the same time. You are looking at thing is one process, one mental process. Put it this way. And when you're hearing, also there's also a hearing process. Your mind changes from seeing to hearing, hearing to seeing, and then of course you're also analyzing, thinking, and so on. All these are individual processes. Now, when the seeing process, when it's finished, it changes into a hearing process. Then that in between, there's a bhavanga consciousness. All right? Then you may think that, how come I can hear and see all at the same time? So where are the consciousness? And then the consciousness are so fast that you cannot even able to realize them. So these bhavanga consciousness, they are in a way, because they are vipaka chitta, they are softer. They are not like the active producing the fresh karma type of chitta. This is more like a vipaka chitta. So vipaka chitta is a bit more softer in the sense of the consciousness. So even when you come into vipassana also, there are times that you may be able to notice this bhavanga consciousness. Same thing, when you notice this bhavanga consciousness, they are also arising and passing away because they are still consciousness. So nevertheless, this consciousness is a bit more softer. So it takes a bit more mindfulness, more deeper development, then only one realize this type of consciousness. So this consciousness, this bhavanga, or the English use, sometimes they translate as life continuum. They are, in a way, well, it all depends on your rebirth consciousness. If your rebirth consciousness comes in with unhappy, unwholesome resultant, if it comes with unwholesome resultant, that means that you're reborn in the woeful states, in the hell, in the beta loka, in the world of suffering beings, unfortunate beings, world of animals, world of also the asuras, the also connected to hell, also hell beings also. So if you, due to your death consciousness, if your death consciousness, then sometimes you may know that your last consciousness, what you think and what you coming up, and then pop, because of that, then it becomes resultant in the rebirth consciousness. So in the rebirth consciousness, therefore, if you have that type of consciousness, that means your whole life you're going to have that type of, that realm of rebirth. That realm of rebirth, that means you go through a lot of suffering, a lot of unhappy resultant, unhappy feelings, unpleasant feelings. Then there are terrible feelings. Now, if you have wholesome resultant, then you're reborn in the happy planes of existence. Then throughout your whole life, you'll be having that planes of existence. Life continuum also, this bhavanga consciousness also, they also carry, for example, certain cetasika. And they carry some cetasika. For example, I just give you an example. They carry the non-greed, loba, adosa, amoha. For example, if you carry the triple rooted, then your whole life you will have that triple rooted because of that rebirth consciousness that you have. It's triple rooted. In other words, you are non-greed, non-hatred, and non-delusion. That means you have the wisdom, you have the generosity, and you have not a hating state of mind. So therefore, throughout your whole life, you will have that triple rooted. And you have that triple rooted. Now, if you're born with, let's say, with double rooted, and you do not have the wisdom root, you only have the non-greed and non-hatred root, then throughout your whole life, you will have that root. If you're born without roots, without this greed, without this non-greed, non-hatred, and non-delusion, but you still have a pleasant result of the past, then also throughout your whole life will be like that. And usually without the triple rooted, then one is like either born blind, born deaf, and a lot of physical challenge problem, also mentally challenged problem. So this is what we call life continuum or bhavanga. And there are many things about this life bhavanga. That means it can come with applied thought or sustained thought and many other things also. So it doesn't mean that it doesn't do anything. It doesn't mean that it doesn't, this bhavanga, it doesn't mean that it's nothing there. It has a lot of other functions also. So if you want to know about all this bhavanga, death consciousness, rebirth consciousness in a more detail, then you have to go through Abhidhamma classes. You have to go through Abhidhamma classes. And here I'm not doing Abhidhamma class, and I'm more doing of meditation classes or talks that's connected to meditation and how we can get out of this cycle of birth and rebirth. I'm more concerned with that. How bhavanga works in one way or another, well, I do not know much of it. I don't know much of all this bhavanga thing also. And other form of consciousness also. I know some of them. That doesn't mean I do not know all of them. I know some of them. I do not know everything of them. So I'm not an Abhidhamma expert. So sometimes you ask me this type of question. I can answer you generally, but but we are not going into Abhidhamma. Then you can have to remember how many consciousness, 30 consciousness, 29 consciousness, 24 consciousness, 12 consciousness, how many cetasika, 10 cetasika, 12 cetasika, how is connected to this cetasika. Then you got so many numbers. That one I cannot really remember all those things. So my job is just to explain to you some of the things here. So I think that your understanding of bhavanga that have misunderstood in a certain way. So it's good that for you to go and look up the understanding of this bhavanga further through Abhidhamma and so on. Or nowadays you can Google you can Google what is this bhavanga, and there's a lot of explanation that you can go through. Forget about the sustained thought and all this applied thought. Learn about what is bhavanga. Learn about its different types of bhavanga that you may have, like for example, death consciousness or rebirth consciousness. And then when you have those understanding, then you actually understand how our mind works a little bit more. Theoretically only you can understand all this theoretically only. But finally, when you go into practice, whether you see this bhavanga or not, it does not matter. It does not matter. Just like when I talk about the talk on Wednesday, what do you call that? Prominency of the object. Even if throughout your whole meditation path from here until enlightenment, you do not know which one is bhavanga. Also, does not matter. If even you have not seen bhavanga consciousness, also doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. What matter is that you see all this arising and passing away in whichever way. That's the most important thing. All right. So this is on the next the question 2. Now I think before we go to question 3, now if you have any If you have any question, sorry. Now, before we go to question 3, now if you have any question or 1 or 2 questions, if you want to type down in the chat area, I think tonight we still have a little bit of time. If you don't have, then no problem. Or if you want to have a verbal questions also, then also it's possible. Then you put up a hand waving thing, that those things, and then after that we'll try to answer you. Okay. Now we're back to our next question. No, this one I got to make it a bit smaller. Sorry. Then only we can see the whole thing. All right. Question 3. Bhante, in my daily activities, 1, sometimes I see a line of intentions of things to do. Okay. I feel tired that there are so much of things to do and will get impatient to finish all the tasks as quickly as possible. Number 2, there are mental proliferation, papancha, of things to do or message to write. It is so annoying. It is so annoying that I have to complete the task, then only papancha will stop. I notice there are fear and anxiety involved, and also to be perfectionist. When I try to ignore the papancha, I notice there are some restlessness at the background. There was once I noted the papancha, then it goes away. But most of the time, it is very disturbing. I feel like going crazy when the papancha starts. Could Bhante help on ways to counter other than patient, and whether all this related to our meditation practice or because it is my character? This is from Padmalim. Okay, let us see. Now, I got a few answers for you. I mean, I have a few options for you, not to say answers. A few options for you. The first option is renunciation, complete renunciation. Renounce from your life, then you don't have to worry about all these things. Be a nun or be a monk, because no, if you are still a lay person, then these things will always come into your life. Yeah, this thing will come into your life. This is my first option for you. This is exactly that the Buddha says that we are all, we are bogged down by all these worldly things. We are bogged down by all these worldly things. So some says that, okay, Bhante, how to renounce lah. We got so many mouths to feed, we got parents to take care, and everything is you feel that is your responsibility. Well, that's it. And that's the problem, yeah. That's one of the biggest problem. So this is the first thing, as I said. So it is because of all these things, because of this mental proliferation, then we find another path in life and completely free from these things. Okay, since you cannot, then another option, let's see what we can do with this. Unless you are rich enough. The second good thing is that if you are rich enough, let's say if this mental proliferation is due to come from your work problem, then if you are rich enough, then if you think that you are rich enough, you can able to sustain until you die, let's say you give yourself until 100 years old. Nowadays, lifespan getting a bit longer, Let's say you can live until 100 years old, and then you have calculated, okay, then forget about working. Forget about working. This is one thing, because When you work with somebody or when you have business, you have to have a lot of responsibility. When you are working with some people, if you are, let's say your boss and you're working for me, I will squeeze you high and dry in order to get all my returns back. Yeah, I pay you, let's say $2,000. I want a $4,000 work from you. That's all you get, everyday life, or more than that, sometimes triple for some people. You know, more like if I hire you for one person, but I expect you to do three persons type of work. That's what I want, and then therefore your responsibility will never finish. Yeah, your responsibility will never finish. It will always have this papancha mental proliferation, and it can never stop. That's because of the lifestyle that you get. Again here, because maybe in your past life you're not done enough generosity, therefore you got to work for your whole life. Yeah. So this is one. So if you are rich enough, then you are, you have less of this problem. Not to say you may have other papancha, but maybe not this. Maybe it's not so grip you in your life. Now, you don't have so much money that you have to work your way to earn a living, whether you have your own business or you work for other people to earn earn a living. Yeah. All right. So what can we do? So therefore, for most of us, we are in that category. Now, when in that category, so therefore we need to manage them. Now, honestly, I'm not an expert in these things. And for you to able to manage your time and all these things, nowadays they have this life coach. You can hire them. You can hire them. They kind of like mentor you how you go through your life, how you go through your work, and how you prioritize this thing or that thing, how you manage your time, this and that. You got to pay them for it. So they make you a more efficient boss, or make you a more efficient worker and things like that. And sometimes also, if in a bigger company, you may be sent for this type of training, to do all these things. So how you going to manage this one to make your life not so terribly bogged down by all this responsibility and all this thinking. Now, from a Buddhist perspective, what can we do? How can we reduce this responsibility and all this thinking? And you say that you have a number of things to do. I assume that if you are working, then also you got a number of things to do. Now, if you are at home also, also the same thing. You also got a number of things to do. Being at home doesn't mean that you have less things. You know this one. This one, I'm not at home. I'm not working. I'm neither here nor there. I'm the first category. So your one is a third category. You have a lot of things to do, and then some of you is that work also got so much things to do, and then after that you come back to your home, also got so much things to do. Also because of your life, because of the way of life, in this sense. Now, what can we do in this way? One of the things that I can advise you to do is that if you need a number of things to do, try to do one thing at one time. Don't rush. I know. Again, this word "don't rush" also cannot, because your boss expect you to finish on a certain deadline. But that's a problem. Because of a certain deadline, you rush to finish certain thing, and that is where our tension and anxiety will develop. And we are not developing it for one day. You're going to develop it for 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, and one lifetime, And your work will keep on going. And therefore, a lot of times when we, especially when we see meditators, most of the time we have to deal with a lot of thinking. A lot of thinking. A lot of thinking. Not so much on the sloth and torpor. And all this thinking is because of the work that you are doing throughout the day, or even at home also, when you have a lot of things to do, yet your mind becomes very, you need to finish a little bit, that one do a little bit, this one a little bit, you got to change the mind. Therefore, you condition the mind to proliferate again and again without you be realizing it. So, what can we do? If you are able to do one thing at one time, when you do that one thing, you'll keep your mind there. And then forget about other things first. Then if you can able to finish that thing, then finish that thing. Or if you cannot finish that thing, sometimes you put it aside. Then you continue to do the next thing. When you continue to do the next thing, then it's a kind of like a mind to switch off the first thing and do the second thing and switch off the third thing and just continue and just do the second thing. It's a training actually. It's a training that you need to go through. And a lot of times, the first thing and the third thing will start to coming in while you're doing the second thing. This is most of the time where we are handling it. But this is where your meditation comes in to help you to recognize them. And then here you tell yourself, okay, my job is just to concentrate or just to be here at the present doing the second thing and push out the third and the first thing. This is important for us to do that. Now, the same thing also. Sometimes I go for walks. When I go for a walk, this is exactly the mind also proliferate on a certain time. For example, I'm walking and just like, what day was that now? Just like a few days ago, I was walking and was going down quite a steep hill. Oh yes, that was Wednesday. Was it Wednesday? I think so, yeah. Wednesday, I think. I was going down a steep hill. And then I was thinking about the talk, No, sorry, Tuesday. And then Wednesday I was down. Tuesday I was doing the walk. I was going down a steep hill. And it's quite dangerous, and quite a dangerous path, that path. And then I was thinking about the Dhamma talk. On Wednesday, I'm going to talk about this prominency. How am I going to talk about it? And here my feet is not stable, and I'm trying to go down. And here, still thinking, the first one, what should I talk about now? Second one, what should I talk? If the second one, I should talk this one, then the third. Hey. I said, wait. All the talk can wait. The talk can wait. Walk first. Go down the steep path first. Go down first. Because sometimes it just comes in. Then it's good that we recognize them and then we put them out first and then try to do what is in the present. And a number of times also these things happen. Even for me, most of the activity that I do is just giving Dhamma talk only. The rest of the day, I got nothing much to do, honestly. meditate a little bit here and there. But other than that, I got nothing much to do. So therefore, the talk also, once in a while, it comes into while you are doing some other things. Then this is where we aware of the mind, we push it aside, and then we concentrate on what we are doing at the present moment. So do the same thing. That while you are doing your things, make it some kind of a habit that you try to concentrate on what you're trying to do here, and try to finish that one first. Do one thing at one time. If you can, if it's possible, do one thing at one time. Forget about things that is not done yet. Sometimes we want to finish certain things for that particular day, although we can able to put it to tomorrow. But sometimes we have that motto, that motto that we think that, okay, I mean, you read about all these things, don't procrastinate. You try to, whatever you can finish today, you finish today. The next day one, then you don't try to, not that type of motto that you're going through, So I feel that sometimes it's not true, because nowadays you just have too many things. And then you try to finish this thing, everything off. It is where your mind becomes a lot of anxiety, a lot of tension, and you build up over time. It builds up over time until it becomes your character. And with that character comes with that perfectionist type of character, like you want to control things. And when you want to control things in so many ways, by the time you reach 40, 50s, you will break down. You will break down, and you comes with a lot of all this anxiety problem, insomnia, depression, and so on. A few times in the past that I was met by, they are secretaries, and they are in a very big corporate now. So they come and see a monk. After all, I'm not working, but the thing is that they come and see me because they come and see a monk, not just me, but because they got no other place, no avenue for them to open up. Sometimes they open up to the psychotherapies, also doesn't really work. But sometimes with a person with a monk or a nun, sometimes they feel more at peace, at ease. Sometimes for some people. So my advice to them is that usually when you become a perfectionist until when you are 40, 50s, you build up, because of your character is built up over the past 20 or 30 years that you've been working, or even when you are studying also during that time. You accumulate that mentality, everything that you have to be perfect, everything you must be able to control, everything that you want to finish, everything you want to being your responsibility. And therefore, all these things it really proliferate the mind, and the mind has no time to stop. No time for it to stop. Until you look for meditation. Until you look for meditation, especially certain right meditation, it helps you to calm the mind down. Then there's only a handbrake. Then last week, not last week, on Wednesday, I said that on Wednesday or Monday, I mentioned that some yogis, when they come into a retreat, they take even like 1 week for the mind to settle down before they can able to meditate some degree of rising and falling. 1 week. Some people take even more than that. So 1 week one is quite a lot nowadays. In the earlier days, according to Reverend Sujiva and other teachers, it says that those days they take 2 or 3 days, and then most people come down already. Nowadays, people take 1 week, because due to the nature of the mind is so much thinking is due to our work life and also our everyday life. So how are we going to able to reduce this proliferation, and yet you have to earn a living? So here you are responsible for your career, and you are you're responsible for the job that you have been given, and also you have certain responsibility and duties also for your family. So here, when you do all these type of things, do it with a bit more relaxed state of mind, with a bit more relaxed state of mind, and do one thing at one time. Keep the mind at the present. It's a kind of like a meditation, but it's almost like at a surface level. It's just like you tune your mind just to do one thing at one time. Just to do one thing at one time. When you are going for a jogging in the evening, do the jogging. Don't bring that while you're jogging or while you're walking, and then you bring your work into it. And then again you proliferate. So if you can put the work aside, and then you're at home, and then you do. Then while you are working, and then all the things at home and you put aside, unless there's something emergency, of course. If nothing other than that, then you keep your mind clear. Then you just do whatever, and you just do one thing at one time. Just do one thing at one time. And over time, as I said, over time when you do this, it helps you to reduce your thinking so much. And together with your daily meditation, it helps you to calm the mind down. And also the next thing is that in between while you're working, then stop for a while, just take an in-breath, out-breath, or just take rising and falling, or just stop for a minute or two, and then just radiate a metta around the people around you, or people around the company, around the whole place, and so on. Just make it a habit. And with that habit, it helps to break the mental proliferation. But if you do it just once or twice, you don't expect that results. So this result, sometimes it comes in after 2 or a few months, that if you put an effort into it, just stop the interference from other things that's coming in. Although you have a number of things to do, but just do it one thing at one time. And it helps to calm the mind down. And also it helps to put everything aside when you are finished the work for that day. Then at least throughout in the evening, your mind can able to somewhat calm down, and you don't go crazy in the long run. This is some of the things that I can advise you, because a number of things is that it also comes in with that mindfulness thing. Nowadays, this mindfulness thing, as I said earlier on when I talked on mindfulness, that although we are talking about Noble Eightfold Path, and when it's Noble Eightfold Path, the mindfulness has to be connected with the right view. That is the right view in the sense of the Four Noble Truths. That the development of the mindfulness is for the sake of, for liberation, for the Nibbana. But nowadays, as I said, there are also mindfulness is being applied in many things. And that application of the mindfulness doesn't fall under Noble Eightfold Path, but it falls under wholesome, still a wholesome mental state. Still a wholesome method, and is in a way is effective for your everyday life. It is effective for your everyday life. So therefore, if you try that mindfulness a little bit, just to be present onto what you are doing, just one thing at a time, and push all other things aside, then it's fine and it's okay. Just like when you're meditating, you just take one object at that time, then just, although other objects at the background, they are still happening, don't worry about it. Just take one object at a time. Then of course, when you're dealing with this mental proliferation, that means you're a lot of thinking and all that thing. Also, it's good that we learn to accept them as they are. The acceptance of them as they are is also another name for face-to-face. With that day we talk about confrontation, of the mind that goes face-to-face with the object. So another name for it is just, nowadays they like to use the word acceptance. Now acceptance here again, you must not just, it's not the mean that just surrendering and just let it be, Acceptance here means that you're aware that it's happening, but you are not getting angry over it or getting sad over it. But it's more like your mind is able to be calm and clear and able to accept it as they are. Even it's a mental proliferation. On that, if you can able to do that, then the mind doesn't fall into its content again and again. Doesn't fall into its You're analyzing the whole data again inside the thoughts. So if you can able to do that, then it'll be very good. Yeah? So you more like acceptance, more like aware of what is going on, and then the mind doesn't get over anger, and sometimes with together with that annoyance, with that anger, it fits you, it fits into that mental proliferation, and the proliferation will grow even more. It's like a loop back again and again. So, it will be good that now if we can understand that some of the things that we are meditating, if we just know how to translate those things into our everyday life, then it's actually help us to calm our mind down. And because that we cannot see how those things are being translated to our everyday life, then we cannot take note of it. A number of things as we meditate, actually, what you actually doing in the meditation and everyday life is actually the same thing. They're actually the same thing. For example, one of the example usually I mentioned is that how you deal with your pain. If you deal with your pain during in the meditation, if you train how to deal with the unpleasant feelings, and during the meditation you have the right way, the right attitude of how to handle the pain, all you need to do is that to bring that understanding into our everyday life. When you are experiencing sadness or experiencing anger and experiencing this one, then how are you going to able to manage it? Just like when you are managing your pain during a sitting meditation, it's the same principle, and to do a lot to do with mindfulness also, to do a lot to do with acceptance and face to face with them without trying to get rid of them, without trying to make them more, but to able to accept them. Then all your clarity and your understanding will start to flow in. So do the same thing that when we are doing with our meditation, we take one object at a time. So too when we are doing going through with our life, just take one object at a time. Then the mind have less confusion, less become more clearer to what we want to finish the task or whatever task that has been given to us. These are some of the things I can hopefully can help you to help you from becoming crazy. So this is some of the things. Hopefully the third one, I hopefully I can able to help you in some ways. Okay, so that's it. I don't see any more in the chat and so on. That's it. All right. So that's all. We'll share merits.